almost 2 years since I've recorded a video. I wasn't going to record this video this year, really. I was going to wait until I started taking ADHD medication in the hope that I could then see whether it was giving me more motivation to come back to YouTube full time. But I was supposed to go visit a friend in the hospital today, so I put on a full face of makeup. And literally, as I was about to leave the door, she also has ADHD, and she is so much worse than me in that she just forgets things all the time. I've literally had, on more than one occasion, texted her the day before to confirm that I would come visit her the next day. And then I would show up the next day and her husband would be like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, I told your wife a week ago I would come by. I confirmed with her again yesterday, and she came out of the kitchen and was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Seriously? We texted yesterday about me coming here." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." And so her husband's always like, "If you want to come visit, just text me, because they don't need me to let them know. They're fine with me just showing up." But I've done that before, where she forgot we had an appointment and nobody was home, and they live an hour away from me, so that was not, pleasant. So I texted her before I left my house and was like, "Are you still there?" Because Friday traffic is horrendous, and on Friday the city turns into one giant parking lot. Literally, that's all you see posted on Facebook. Avoid the city, it's a giant parking lot. And I can't get to the hospital without going through the city. So I said, "If you're still there, I'll brave Friday traffic." And I jokingly said, "I'll see you in 5 hours. And she replied and said, "My husband braved traffic today and it was horrendous." She said, "Save yourself the trouble and come at the weekend." And I was like, "All right, I'll come by on Sunday. No traffic on Sunday." But I just put on a full face of makeup and I was like, I'm not going to waste this makeup, so let's sit down and record a video. I was going to plan this out better. I was going to make bullet points so that I didn't get lost. I don't want to jump from one timeline to another and make it super confusing. But I've rehearsed this video a million times in my head. I really don't think I can get it wrong. So let's just dive in. In January 2024, two things happened that changed my whole work situation. I want to preface this by saying, okay, a lot of things happened in the last 2 years, both professionally and personally, but most of them were professionally. Most of them came from work and took a very big toll on my I don't even want to say my mental health, just my health in general, physically too. So, I got a new manager, and one of my favorite people left. Now, it's not the fact that she was one of my favorite people that left that was the fact that she was the only one who did her job, and she was the absolute best I've ever seen at it. She did all our reporting. Now, if there's one thing you need to know about me, is I am ancient, and I got computer lessons in high school, starting at like age 16. That's also when we got dial-up internet at home. Keep in mind how old I am. But I am a computer nerd. I am great with computers. I can do pretty much anything with computers. I studied IT. The one thing that I said since high school is that my most hated program in the world is Excel. I don't know how to fucking use it. It is a completely useless program to me, because everyone's like, oh, you can, Excel does everything for you. Excel does nothing for you. You have to build pages long formulas, and then Excel will automate everything. But you gotta build the formulas first. And oh my god, I hate it so much. So when she left and we didn't get budget to replace her, my team had to start taking over pieces of her reporting job, which essentially turned my job into 95% Excel. And the amount of stress that brings me is ridiculous. Now, I want to again say, yes, big first world problem. I'm well aware. But if it takes me a full 8-hour day to do something that she would have done in an hour, or that even someone with a good understanding of Excel would take 3 hours, it's a giant stressor, because I have always excelled at every job I've done. I'm an overachiever. I may have ADHD, but I have ADHD more so in my personal life. I put every ounce of energy I have into my job so that I have nothing left in my battery at the end of the day. But my job is important to me, and I've excelled at every job I've ever done. And I'm a very fast learner. I pick up everything like that, but I cannot, for the life of me, learn Excel. Doesn't happen. So it's been the whole of 2024 was very difficult. Now, the last video I made was, I believe, in February of 2024, and I mentioned briefly towards the end of that video that I was suffering from like weird bits of vertigo, where it's not that the room was spinning, but I felt like I was on a boat, like my body was constantly moving. That's what it felt like. And I really only felt it when I sat down, bad when I lay down, but the worst when I lay down with my eyes closed. So sleeping was like ridiculously difficult. And it affected my job. Now, I told my new manager, I don't want to get too into this because, again, work, I'm trying to separate work from my YouTube stuff, and I don't know who's watching this video, so I don't want to get too detailed. But I told my manager pretty much from the beginning that I was feeling that I had vertigo. But I didn't really know what it was, and I was gonna just like wait and see where it went. And after about 6 weeks, I realized that I was dropping the ball at work, and I can admit that. So I called my manager. She noticed so she appointed an extra manager to run my team, which is another whole thing because that was supposed to be my job. That was a job that was promised to me when I started up this team with my previous manager who left the company. My whole team thought that was going to be my job. So everyone was shocked when it was thrown in at the end of a meeting. Oh, by the way, in 2 weeks' time, you're getting a new manager. And we were like, what? Where's this coming from? And my whole team messaged me and was like, did anyone tell you? And I said, no. I found out with everyone else. So that got, and I'm unfortunately, and I need to learn this, I'm a hard ass at work, okay? I'm a nice person and I will treat people with respect. But if there is something on my mind, I will say it. And no matter how much I try to bite my tongue, can't. So I called my manager and I was like, what the fuck? And we had a whole argument about it. But she kind of spent the whole year gaslighting me on multiple occasions. That was the beginning. She blamed it on me because I never showed any interest in a job that never existed. So, I don't know how I was supposed to, but whatever. Over and done with. I never blamed the new manager for that. I know it wasn't her fault, but it just kind of started us off on the wrong foot, I guess. But either way, after my GP scheduled, did some blood work and then scheduled a brain MRI to figure out where the vertigo was coming from, because we determined it wasn't an inner ear thing. Because I was also suffering from really bad tinnitus. She was wondering if I had like an acoustic neuroma, which is a benign mass, I guess, near your ear or hearing part of your brain. But but I said to her, I am fairly certain this is stress. I don't think it's a coincidence. This started a month after two big changes in my job that I hated. But she said, I think the same. She said, but I just want to rule out anything physical before we look at anything mental. Long story short, had the MRI in July. Vertigo was over like in May, I think. Still had the MRI, came back clear, great. Get occasional bouts of vertigo still, but nowhere near, like it's not every day, it's not all day. It was just a new symptom of, I guess, more stress than anything else that I just never had experienced before. And it was it scared me because I know they always say, anxiety symptoms can kill you. Yeah, okay, but if you get vertigo while you're driving, you could crash your car. And that was my fear. I was afraid to go anywhere in case I got a really strong case of vertigo and I was just gonna like crash into everything. So it was an unsettling feeling. It scared me. But either way, the whole year I was majorly being micromanaged. Everything was like, do this, do that, make sure it's done by this date. Have you done this yet? And I, at some point, just kind of blew up at both of them. My manager could not have a meeting with me without involving the other manager. She just, I don't know. She knew I was a confrontational person and she clearly was not. So she always pulled in her manager, who was my previous one, which bothered me to no end. But anyway, at one point I said, I am really tired of you watching me like a hawk. It's like you don't trust me anymore. And they flat out responded, And they said, no, because you didn't tell us about it. And I said, well, A, legally I'm not required to tell you anything about medical issues, and B, I did. And they said, yeah, months later. And I said, no, 6 weeks later. And she knew about it from pretty much day one. And they went, well, now you're turning it into a game of he said, she said. And I thought, and I said, oh, so you're now flat out calling me a liar. All right, I'm going to hang up because this conversation is going nowhere. But it was a whole year like that, a whole year of what I felt was them gaslighting me into thinking that I was doing things wrong that I wasn't. A whole year of being micromanaged and a whole year of arguments because I am just not someone who bites my tongue. So I felt crap. I reached out. So I felt just like absolute crap. And I'm a true believer that there's my side of the story, there's their side of the story, and then there's the truth, right? I don't believe that everything I think happened truly happened, but I can at least admit that I did some things wrong. They don't. They genuinely don't think they did anything wrong, and it's all my fault. So the amount of stress I had, like I was dreading going to work every day, and I haven't had that in like a decade. Sorry, my foot's falling asleep. I'm just gonna change positions for a second. So 2025 rolls around. Oh, well, I'll talk about the ADHD stuff later. 2025 rolls around, and we got reorged. My global department of like 300 people got chopped into regions. And on top of that, and this is a very important part of it too, they had been, I've been living in construction for like 3 years, right? I complain about it all the time. I bought a new build house. It was one of the first phase to be finished. So I knew I was going to be living on a construction site for a while. However, the houses were finished by October of 2023. But then they started building an apartment complex across the way, which we weren't told about. We were initially told that was going to be assisted living for the elderly, which A, is a much smaller building, and B, would have been done a lot faster. No, they built apartment buildings, so that was another year of construction. And then across the street, a different developer bought a plot of land and also started building apartment buildings. So that added another year of construction. Now, Ireland is one giant rock. So if you want to build a foundation for any sort of building, you have to drill down into the rock. And they included underground parking, so they were going really deep. So for 5 months, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. non-stop, all I heard was this giant pneumatic drill. Nowhere in my house could I escape it. The construction of the apartments that my developer created, that ground was already construction noise I heard from there, like the beeping trucks constantly. If I slept in the back bedroom with my earplugs in, I didn't hear it. So I basically lived in my spare bedroom for a year. But the drilling, the spare bedroom with earplugs didn't drown that out either. Nothing did. And I work from home all day, so all day. And I don't get up at 8. But I had to. But my brain doesn't know how to go to sleep before 4, so I lived on like 4 hours of sleep for 5 months and then tried to catch up at the weekend. And honestly, the arguments with my managers, the reorganization, and the constant drilling became way too much. And at the end of February, I went to my GP, sat down, and just told her everything that had happened over the past year. And I am leaving a lot out because it's work related and I don't want to share too many details. But like, it was a lot of psychological warfare. And so I wanted like 2 weeks of stress leave. I just needed a break. And she gave me 5 weeks. And I was like, whoa, I can't take 5 weeks off work. And she was like, you're gonna have to. She said, you came in here thinking you were at the start of a burnout and you didn't want to get into one. I'm here to tell you you're really deep into a burnout, and if you don't take long enough time off, you're just gonna go back to the same situation. So I got 5 weeks of stress leave. Not gonna lie, needed it, but also not gonna lie, was bored out of my freaking skull after week 3. But I took my GP's advice. I went out regularly for walks in nature and tried to do one thing every day that made me happy, and just tried to get the whole work situation out of my mind. So, in the meantime, I got moved under a different manager, which I knew was going to happen. So I came back April 2nd, and April 1st I was moved. So, and he's a guy that I've worked with for 9 years that I'm actually friends with, and that I know is my ideal manager, someone who leaves me to do my job the way I see fit. But if I need help with something, I can ask him. So, for the rest of the year, since like April until now, I still don't like the job I'm doing because it's still 95% Excel and I still suck at it. But the work environment has drastically improved, so I no longer hate the job and I'm mentally in a much better place. So yeah, I guess, there's a lot of reasons why I haven't recorded anything in almost 2 years. One was I felt like crap every day from work. 2 was constant construction. Like, I swear they were even working on Saturdays. I at one point really saw myself marching over like a Karen in a bathrobe on a Saturday and threatening to call the guards on them, but I don't think I would have been allowed. I think they're not allowed to work on Sundays, but they are on Saturdays, which is really annoying. And ADHD, which I'll get into with an update now. So, 2 years of going from waitlist to waitlist to waitlist, until I finally got one and got a full-on diagnosis of both inattentive and hyperactive, which surprised me. And I said this to the psychiatrist. I was like, why hyperactive? Like, I literally cannot leave my couch. said, yeah, but you fidget a lot. And I said, yeah, that's true. He said, that's very hyperactivity, ADHD, but you are by far more inattentive. So he wanted to start me on stimulant medication, but because I take a beta blocker for racing hearts that I've had for like a decade, he wanted me to see a cardiologist and get a full workup. That took another 5 months. I eventually got an echo done and wore a 24-hour Holter monitor in October. I think it was October. And the cardiologist was like, you're fine. You have your heart is perfectly healthy. He agreed that some of the episodes I had were most likely not anxiety related, but he said what I think they would have been is still a benign heart thing. And it seems your beta blocker has not given you a racing heart episode in 2 years, so I have no reason to believe that you can't handle stimulants. Now I went to Florida in November. I couldn't get a follow-up appointment with my psychiatrist before, not my psychiatrist, just a psychiatrist, before I left, so I wasn't able to take the medication before I left. He prescribed it to me, he said, on Thursday. Today's Friday, so yesterday. Haven't heard back from my pharmacy yet. My pharmacy is usually very quick, so I'm assuming he hasn't done it yet, but I will follow up with my pharmacy on Monday, and if they haven't gotten it, I'll get back to him. But Florida was better than last year, so in 2024, because I was in the middle of all of this work crap, and I had a huge blow up with my manager literally the day before I left on vacation, I spent 9 out of the 21 days in bed. Couldn't be bothered, was not in the mood for anything. All I could think about was work and how much I was dreading going back. That was very different this year. I'm not going to say that I did an extraordinary amount of things, but I go every year. You don't do theme parks every day if you go every year. I did a lot. I did Magic Kingdom 3 times. I did Epcot 3 times. I did Hollywood Studios once. It's the 3rd year in a row I skipped Animal Kingdom completely. It's my least favorite park. I really wanted to do it this year before Dinosaur gets rethemed into an Indiana Jones ride, but I just didn't make it. Universal is kind of the one that I have overdone. Disney I only started doing in like 2018. Universal I started doing in 2010, and like only Universal, so I think I've just overdone it. The 2 regular parks, I am enough with one day. I can do all the rides, usually in November, multiple times. There's like no wait times anymore in November. Epic Universe, however, that was amazing. I did that on my birthday. I also splurged on Express Pass because all the rides were like 400 minutes wait time. Who does that? I don't think any ride is worth that wait. So I waited no more than like 20 minutes for any ride. It was an amazing park, beautifully themed, and the rides were great. Not 400 minutes wait time great, but they were great. So I feel like I did a in my whole life combined. I have so many videos I can make about all of those products, which I would love to do, but I would always love to do them. My brain would love to make them. My body doesn't. So that's where I'm waiting for the medication and see how I react to it and see how it hopefully helps me. But next weekend, I'm already going home for the holidays, so I don't know if I'm gonna get it on time. We'll see. I think that's really it, honestly. I think that's sort of the cliff notes of everything that happened. Work has been crap, but better this year. I'm just showing up every day to get paid at this point. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I don't like that. I kind of, prefer a job that I love, and I'm pretty easy to please. I've liked a lot of jobs I've done in the past. I've loved a lot of jobs I've done in the past. But it's not fun doing a job every day that you just feel inadequate for. So, But again, first world problems. Get it. I do. And then, yeah, the ADHD stuff, I've made progress on it, and I'm hoping to make more progress on it in the coming weeks. And then maybe in January, I would love to actually do like a little Christmas decoration store video, and then you can also see a small house tour. I'm not doing a full house tour. I think some of the things are just too personal, but I can definitely show the downstairs at least with my Christmas decorations, but I'm not done yet. I mean, I came back from Florida on November 26th, which is now just over a week ago. It's Friday, so a week and 2 days ago. It was a Wednesday. I put up my tree on Sunday, and then I put up little bits of decorations on Monday, and that was it. It's now Friday, and I still have a whole lot of decorations to put up. So if I can get myself to do them this weekend, then I can film a short little Christmas decoration / house tour and upload that next week. And who knows, maybe I'll find the dopamine to make more videos. I did actually start creating a list of videos I wanted to do so that I don't get stuck thinking about them. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I would love to film a Q&A at this point. The questions I asked before, like 4 years old. So, but I don't know what the best place is for you guys to ask me questions, because I'm not active on Instagram. My Instagram is also my personal one. It's not really necessarily linked to it's listed on my YouTube channel, but it's not necessarily linked to my YouTube channel. So, maybe I'll just do what I usually do and just upload a very short video announcing a Q&A and asking all of you to leave your comments below that, or your questions below that. And we will see. But yeah, that's it. I necessarily daily rain, but when it does rain, it just pours. So, not ideal. Anyway, I'm gonna leave the video here. I will see if I upload it. I don't know if I like it enough, but it's been almost 2 years, so a bit of awkwardness to expect, I guess. I hope you guys are all doing well. Let me know. I know a lot of you have asked me over the 2 years whether I'm okay, because I am so silent on social media too, so I haven't really been, but I have been. It's, I don't want to exaggerate it either, but I'm on the up and up, and I've said that before, so I hope I stay on the